Today on the 01581 Let's Talk, a conversation with our Public Works Director, Chris Payant, and an update from our Town Manager, Kristi Williams. Hi, and welcome to the 01581 Let's Talk. I'm here today joined by by Chris Payant, our Public Works Director. Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Feel like I'm becoming a regular here.
Right. Well, hopefully, right? We've kind of talked about a regular cadence of updates from Public Works, so appreciate your time. So I think today we're going to talk about the stormwater utility and as well as some other happenings in Public Works that kind of a little bit of a preview to work of your department. So let's jump into it. So we have a stormwater utility program that we're starting, and where does take us back and then take us to present, please.
So long history, about 4 years ago started. In 2020, there was some ideas discussed about, hey, is there a way to fund stormwater infrastructure? Other towns around the Massachusetts, but also the country, have implemented utilities, and so we said, hey, that might be an option we want to explore. Right. And fast forward,
forgive me for interrupting here. It's not that we weren't funding it, it's just specifically funding it as opposed to taking it out of kind of our general kind of operating expenses and planning.
Yes, and adding more to it.
And adding more to it,
because we were underfunding it.
Correct, right.
Or have been.
Yep.
And so we spent a couple of years looking at feasibility, doing some assessments. Does it make sense? How does it work? How would we do it? Lots of discussion with lots of different people, select board and others, which led to a town meeting vote last year that said, hey, let's do this thing. So now we're in implementation phase. So over the last 10 months or so, we've been doing the behind the scenes work to get this implemented. And then in December, we met with the select board and had a discussion, a preview of what the rates and things would be to finalize the implementation. And then in January, we met with the select board for the approval of the rates and the regulations, which allow us to fully implement. And so looking ahead between now and July, when we expect the utility to kick off, we'll be spending time just figuring out the mechanics of how the bills go out and how it works and who all gets them, making sure addresses are straight and the billing is all correct, so we can start that process in July. Okay.
And I think you have some visuals to sort of explain how this all works and how things are going to be calculated, et cetera.
So
walk us through that, please.
We have a picture that you can see that shows an outline of a parcel, and highlighted in blue is all the impervious area. So the impervious area is how we calculate the fee, and the impervious area is basically anything that prevents water from going through the ground. And so what's highlighted there are roads, houses, rooftops, sidewalks. All of that is calculated for your property, and then we come up with a fee, and we'll show that if we can talk that. So.
And we decided to go with the tiering structure.
That's right. So this chart is not new. It's been discussed multiple times, and thankfully it stayed the same, essentially. So our rates did not, when we projected this a year ago, we said this is what we might look like. Sure. But we couldn't guarantee plus or minus, and turns out that it's pretty accurate. So these rates shown on the screen there are 3 tiers. So that's for residential homes, and then there's an approach for commercial and larger properties that is a factor of these tiers, and it's there's some calculations that come up with their fees, but the majority of our residents are paying one of these 3 tiers based on the impervious area on their property.
Sure. Okay. And this is a per year charge.
That's correct. So that fee that's shown is the annual fee. It'll be broken down into 4 payments over the course of the year. Sure. So it's
And what is the net result? What would be the net return based on these calculations and the tiering and how the community breaks out both commercial and residential? What will that net to the stormwater fund?
It's about 1.7 million is what the fees would generate. $500,000 of that is what's reflected in the budget, which is for our operating expenses. And then the delta is what we're intending to use, and this was always the plan, to pay for capital projects eventually, right? So
You're going to build it up first.
$500,000 isn't going to get us much now, but
Right.
over the couple of years, we start to build an account, and then that, just like with other, utilities, the sewer and water,
Sure.
we have something to tap into,
Sure.
but so call it a savings account if you want to, or
Sure.
a checking,
Yep.
and we fund bigger projects out of that.
Okay, okay. And so what are some examples of projects that would come out of this?
So in terms of routine operations, it could be, like on a daily basis out of the operating budget, it could be things like jetting out pipes, digging out pipes, replacing pipes for our...
So we recently had a water main break on, I think it was West Main Street, like 4 days ago or something like that. That was urgent, needed to be repaired. Is that something that would fall under this, or is that really kind of more in the routine work, if you will, of Public Works?
That would be routine.
Okay.
So we would go out, if it happened to be a stormwater structure that broke,
Yep.
then we would send guys out there and
Yep.
have the material to fix it, and that would be funded out of our budget.
Okay, okay. In this case, it was water main, so
Right.
being different.
But
yeah.
similar
Yep.
approach, similar
Okay,
process.
okay.
So the bigger things like replacing a culvert across a road, which requires cutting the road, digging out pipes, lots of construction,
Right.
lots of design, that's obviously more expensive, takes a lot more time, and that would be funded through that savings account,
Sure.
basically, that we were referring to earlier.
Sure.
It would be retained earnings.
Sure.
And we would program those out over the coming years. And I'm not saying it would fully fund it. We might have to do some borrowing in the future, but
Sure, some of these
but the
projects are
idea is that we're paying
many
as we
millions.
go.
Right, right.
Some of these things
Right.
that the town needs to do.
And so one of the kind of the pushback has been on this, like, why not bring these projects to town meeting every year and get approval? I know the answer to that, but I'd love to hear, like, why isn't that? Because that's been our process from
Yep.
as long as certainly I've been around, and yourself as well. Why not continue that?
So we certainly could. We recommended that we take this approach because it provides a couple of things. One is consistent, reliable, predictable funding. So we know, since we have rates and it's revenue that comes directly to pay for stormwater work,
Yep.
we can plan a program for several years out
Sure.
and know that we can fund it. With town meeting, we'd like to think that everything goes there and gets approved,
Right.
but it may not.
Right.
And so we're kind of guessing each year as to whether that's going to be approved
Sure.
or not.
Sure.
So that's the predictability piece is one. The second, probably more important thing, is that we have been funding stormwater, but not to the degree that we probably need to keep pace with the infrastructure we have and the expansion that has happened over several decades.
Yep.
So if we were to do that, there would be an increase significantly. So that $500,000 we're going to spend
Right.
would be added to or some portion
Yep.
of it would be added to the
Taxes.
the
Yep.
taxes.
Yeah.
And,
The levy.
and so this is, yes, it's coming out of your pocket one way or the other,
Yep.
but it's a little more defined. It's very understandable, I think, to most that
Yep.
like you're paying for the service you're getting,
Yep.
and it's not as kind of cloudy as taxes might be.
Sure,
It just
sure.
goes into a big pot and
Right.
is spent in all different places.
Right, right. Well, and I love the planning aspect of it. I mean, I think one of the things that you've demonstrated, certainly since you've been here with the town, is, kind of this projection. We're going to do this with the idea of this, and then we're going to get to here. And we see
Right.
those kind of projects going through that cycle. So it definitely allows, I think, for a more fluid approach, I think, on a kind of day-to-day operations, even if you're working with outside, resources, to be able to say, here's what I think we can project and budget and plan, maybe get some design work done, and then, kind of then we're ready for
Yep.
that next phase, and we're
Yep.
not kicking the can down the road. And does this also help if projects were to be grant eligible, to kind of know that you've got some of this money that could be applied as a match?
There's lots of grants that don't pay for the whole thing. You have to put some skin in it.
Yep.
So you have to contribute some amount of money,
Sure.
some matching funds,
Yep.
and so having the ability to do that immediately
Yep.
with funds that are dedicated to that
Sure.
specific purpose
Sure.
makes it more appealing to
Okay.
people that offer that money,
Yeah.
and we want to compete for it.
Right,
So,
absolutely, great. Okay, great. So, so what will residents see relative to this at town meeting?
there won't be anything at town meeting. So we approved the bylaw last year. Actually, not true. So they will see the budget.
Yeah.
So, which is probably what you're getting at, but
Yeah,
I
that's okay.
sometimes
No,
kind of gloss
Yep,
past that.
yep,
But
no,
that's an important
yep,
piece,
yeah.
right? So,
Right.
in the budget book and
Yep.
at town meeting, the town will be asked to approve the entire budget for
Right,
the town, and then
right.
some specific things. So, our water budget, our sewer budget, and our stormwater budget. And
Right.
so, listed in the book
Yep.
is the breakdown of our expenses and
Yep.
how much we think we're going to spend.
Yep.
And that's ultimately what the town will approve at town meeting.
Right, right. But there's no separate article. This would be part of the budget.
That's correct.
The
Yep.
budget article. Okay, great. Anything else on stormwater before we kind of hop into projects?
I think those are the highlights. If anybody's interested in information, there is information on the website. It's right on the main page of the Public Works.
Okay.
Click on Stormwater Utility, and all the history is there, all the videos, all the previous discussions, and if anybody really has that interest, you
Sure.
can catch up. So,
Sure, excellent, excellent. What else is coming up for Public Works? Projects, initiatives? I know you guys are busy.
Yeah,
and-
there's lots of things
yeah,
out there,
yeah.
but I will highlight a couple. So it's winter time. There's not been a lot, but there will be some more snow, I'm sure. So in the next weeks, we will be introducing a anti-icing device. So liquid
Oh,
on the
okay,
road
yeah, we
versus
talked about that.
drop
Last time
and
you
salt.
came in here to clear off the snow.
That's right. Yeah.
Right, right.
So that machine will be out hopefully soon, and we'll be getting that on the road. So you'll see a sprayer,
Okay.
which many other towns do. So it's not something unique,
Yep.
but it's something new for us, and we're going to be introducing it hopefully this year.
Great.
That's great. On the transportation side, these are more long term, but we've got on Otis Street a project there to upgrade the improve sidewalks, shared use path, improve the intersection at Route 9 with some signal changes. We know that's a congested area, and so we're working with Mass DOT to fix that, and that's in the works right now.
Do we have a timeline on that? Because folks have asked, and
Yep,
I
so-
don't know that answer.
So at the end of this year, we'll have our design done,
Okay.
and it'll go out to bid. And so next summer, we expect to see some shovels in the ground
Great.
doing things there.
Great, excellent, excellent.
And then further down the street on Otis, you get to Fisher, and from the Fisher Street Bridge all the way to Church Street, we've got in the works a plan to put in a shared use path there. That was funded through a grant, Safe Routes to School. So it was a collaboration with us in the school department to put that project forward. That's in the early phases of design, so that's a few years away in terms
Sure.
of construction, but
Yep.
that's out there. And then jumping across to the other side of town on East Main Street, I think you were part of the meeting.
Yeah.
So we've proposed a project there to put a sidewalk and do some road improvements, intersection improvements at Flanders and East Main. Big project, lots of money, but not our money, the state's money or federal money. So we're competing for that, and hopefully that plays out. So a couple of things like that are out there that,
And the other big project is the one the TIP project that you recently presented to the MPO.
that's right.
Right.
So, all those things are in the works, and you're not going to see something tomorrow, but
Right.
we're certainly moving forward on
Right.
things that the master plan has identified in terms of transportation improvements. And then
Great.
one other thing, just related to water, we're hoping to come see the select board soon and just give a really broad overview about water and our supply and what we're looking at, for the next, not next year, but next 10, 20, 30, 40 years
Sure.
in terms of management of
Sure.
our water.
And I believe that the board had also asked just sort of for understanding of how rates are set.
Yep.
That doesn't fall under our kind of jurisdiction, but we felt like it was important for the public to understand the water rate setting
Yep,
process.
so we'll be back at some point to
Great.
provide that feedback
Great.
and let people know how it works.
Great. Well, thanks to all that you and your department are doing to keep our roads clear. And it's been a light year so far, and hopefully the de-icer
see.
machine gets a little test, but not too
Yeah.
much. So, right, it's still
Right.
early. Great.
Yep, we'll
All
see.
right. Excellent, Chris.
All right,
Thanks so
thank
much
you.
for being my guest. I
Appreciate
really
it.
appreciate it. All right, great. Thanks so much. And I'll be back in just a moment with our town manager, Kristi Williams. Welcome back. I'm joined by our town manager, Kristi Williams. Kristi, hi.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Too.
I hope I'm an okay replacement for Mrs. Henderson, who is here. I know she did a great job, but now I'm back, and it's sort of, So what's the update today from the town manager's office?
Sure. So one of the things I wanted to highlight today is talking about youth and family services. So we've talked about that previously, but just to remind everybody, we have not had a director in that department for almost a year, around a year. We have not had a lot of applications for that. So it's been a posted position. We've continued to seek applications, even during some of these discussions about how we might change the model. It's just a really difficult sort of industry to recruit someone. So we're really thankful to our employees who are still there, really continuing to keep that service for the town going. But in trying to be innovative and looking at other ways other towns do things, we've been working with Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services, which is a nonprofit. It is not associated with the town of Shrewsbury, on a clinical services contract. And so we've gone through many iterations of what that model would look like. And at the Selectmen's meeting on February 13th, we'll be talking sort of with more finality around what that will look like and proposing it to move forward. So we would update the budget to reflect this new model. So what that is a clinical services model with Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services as a contractor, and the town would retain an employee who would function as outreach and resource coordinator. So helping to staff the office, but also attending outreach events, really continuing the heart of the program in terms of working with the different community groups and reaching the most vulnerable, which we know is the heart of the program that we currently have and really important to move forward.
Right, and that person serves, I think, as an important kind of liaison to other services that are available, not just through the town, but through other kind of parts of the Commonwealth, et cetera. Great, okay.
Yeah.
And so from a budget perspective at town meeting, how will this be presented to the voters?
Sure. So it'll show up in that budget article. So when the town moderator reads from each department, they read the salary and then the expenses, and they're voted on separately. Right now, the majority of the funding for that department is in the salary and wages. So that amount, or what we project for the contract, will show up in the expense line. And so with this new contract, we expect that we'll be able to serve more people with actually two full-time clinicians dedicated to the town, as well as interns and other support services, and with no increase to the budget.
Okay. And I know in part of the presentation when Youth and Family Services came to the select board meeting previously, they also talked about having on-site hours here. So there will be in addition to the community resource coordinator, there will be clinicians here in Westborough as well.
That's a really important point. So they will staff fully in Westborough. So the two clinicians that will be hired for Westborough will be exclusively in Westborough, and then other support staff will spend time, their director of clinical services will spend a minimum of 20 hours a week here. So they will fully be in town.
Right, and I know in those presentations and conversations, she committed to working with our police department, working with our school department, working with our senior center director and the food pantry. I mean, like getting to all those entities that we know are, provide critical connections to the individuals that access youth and family services. So,
Yep.
Good.
So there'll be a lot of time over the next few months. I'm sure she'll come on your show.
Sure.
And just really meeting the community and getting to know us better. And then the contract would likely start July 1st of 24.
Excellent. Okay, great. And between now and town meeting, there will be presentations to the select board, to finance committee. How can folks continue to sort of stay engaged in the budget and all the kind of capital items?
Yep. So I think definitely the select board meetings will have presentations, and then the finance committee will call folks in, reviewing that budget summit video from January 25th.
Yeah.
It's an all-day meeting, but you would hear from police, fire, DPW, schools, and then also community development presented at that meeting as well. So,
Great.
but if folks have questions, please reach out.
Yeah.
The superintendent and I are presenting later this month at the senior center, so really just trying to get the word out and answer questions.
Sure. Great. Excellent. Kristi, thank you so much for your update. Appreciate you coming back on.
Sure.
And as always, it's good to hear from our town manager, sort of get a global update of how things are going and what we can look forward to. So, I'm here with Aiden, and if you don't know what happens behind the scene, it's because you don't know this guy, because he does so much to make these shows possible, along with the other Westborough TV crew members. But Aiden is like you're a mainstay here. And I'm not here to talk about all this great work here at Westborough TV. What I am here to share is that today is a big birthday for Aiden. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And, you know, I didn't know what to get you for a gift, so some things are just priceless, and my voice really is priceless.
It is.
So,
It is.
so I'm going to actually sing you just a little bit of happy birthday. Okay?
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. You are 30 now, and you look.
Like it too.
Yes, exactly. Happy birthday, Aiden.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm going back behind the camera.
All right. Thanks so much. I think the ratings might have just gone down. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the 01581. Happy birthday, Aiden, and take care, and hope to see you tuning in for the next show.